This is Sunday Night. I'm Melissa Doyle. It's the most controversial Princess Diana story ever. It made world headlines and sent shockwaves through the British establishment. The secret tapes her family desperately tried to stop. In a moment, you'll see why. As the princess pours her heart out to a stranger, to, of all people, her vocal coach, revealing her innermost emotions and fears, her anger and disgust about her life with the royals, and her disintegrating marriage to Prince Charles. The self-portrait of a very complex woman who still intrigues us 20 years after her death.
Is that thing on?
Yeah. Okay.
Princess Diana, once the most famous face in the world. But there was also the private Diana, known only to a few.
If you come in here, you sit down and be quiet.
You've got to be very quiet.
Very quiet. Don't touch it, William, because it's all focused on me.
And this Diana had a story to tell.
I was brought up in the sense that, you know, when you got engaged with someone, you loved them.
In 1992, she began recording a series of videotapes.
Whereupon he leapt upon me, started kissing me and everything. I thought, well, yeah, you know, this is not what people do. And he was all over me.
This was a different Diana, uninhibited, free-talking, candid.
We met 13 times before we got married.
Telling a story that was rocking the foundations of the British monarchy.
So I went to the top lady and I was sobbing and I said, what do I do? I'm coming to you, what do I do? And she said, I don't know what you should do. Charles is hopeless. And that was it. That was help. Ladies and gentlemen.
There is no other footage that reveals her spirit so intimately. It's a Diana at her most unguarded. And Diana knew there were very few things more dangerous to the establishment than a princess with a story.
You get into telling the story.
No, I'm not.
You're a storyteller. If you feel strong about a point, make it very strongly. You see how far you can go.
Diana was born into the British aristocracy, the daughter of an earl. But while she was part of the establishment, she had a fiercely independent streak.
I was a rebel. I always did the dares. I always did the opposite of everybody else. I wasn't academically interested at all. I just wanted to be with people and have fun and, you know, look on after people, things like that. I got the prize of being the kindest girl in school. I got the prize of this.
This doesn't ring rebel.
I know,
So
but it was underlying. It was always there.
Well, the rebel was going on underneath, but...
But I didn't come out.
What do you mean? They didn't see it?
They didn't see it.
Diana showed her independence by moving out of home and into a London flat with friends.
She must have been just about 17. Yeah, she was pretty young. Well, she was great fun. Real breath of joy. Well, she had a flat in just on the old Brompton Road.
It was Earl's Court, it was Old Brompton Road. Loved it, so happy there.
All girls of whom she was the declared chief chick.
And I had 3 girls living with me. We had the best time of my life.
Close friend Charles Colthurst was part of Diana's inner circle when her courtship with the prince began.
Diana invited me around to dinner, and as I arrived, she said, a little bit sort of excitable, she said, I'm afraid I can't be here for dinner. I heard a good, strong engine of a car outside. The flatmates, they mentioned, you know, it was Prince Charles, and at that stage, I think the die was cast, as it were.
Is it any possibility of any announcement of your marriage in the near future? Can you tell me? Can you tell me if there's any possibility?
I'm not going to say anything, Ray.
Right, but Prince Charles did give us a hint himself. He said we wouldn't have to wait too long.
Careful.
That when things really started to get serious, when I was to be 18 and a half, I was asked to stay with some friends in Sussex, and they said, "Oh, the Prince of Wales is staying the night 'cause he's playing polo." So I thought, well, I haven't seen him for ages. He's just broken up with his girlfriend, that has just been killed. And I said, it'd be nice to see him. I was so unimpressed. Anyway, I sat there and this man walked in, and I thought, well, I am quite impressed this time round. I was different and everything else. He chatted me up, you know, like a bad rash. He was all over me. I thought, you know, And we were sitting on this bed and straw barbecue that night, and we were talking about Mountbatten and his girlfriend. And I said, you must be so lonely. I said, it's pathetic watching you walking up the aisle in St Paul's with Lord Mountbatten's coffin in front. I said, you know, ghastly. You need someone beside you. Oh, wrong word. Whereupon he leapt upon me, started kissing me and everything. I thought, well, yeah, you know, this is not what people do. And he was all over me for the rest of the evening, followed me around, everything, puppy. And, yeah, I was flattered, but I was very puzzled. Next day, he said, oh, you must come to Buckingham Palace, and I've got some work to do, but you wouldn't mind sitting there while I do my work. And I thought, well, bugger it, I do mind sitting there while you do your work. And I said that. And that sort of lit up something in him, because someone answered back. So it was quite a challenge. And then it started to gather.
So were you being wooed?
Seriously
At a
moved.
rate?
But he wasn't consistent with his courting abilities. He'd ring me up every day for a week, and then he wouldn't speak to me for 3 weeks. Very odd. And I accepted that. I thought, fine, well, he knows where I am if he wants me. And the thrill when he used to ring up was so immense and intense, drive the other 3 girls in my flat crazy. But, you know, it was odd.
I think she had a dream, and she hoped the dream would come to life.
An older man who was in a prominent position liked me, wanted to have me around.
I think she had ideas of what she'd like it to be. And I think there were other elements that it would have been difficult to foresee, even had she been older.
At the age of 19, although I was daunted at the prospect at the time, I felt I had the support of my husband-to-be. And I wanted to share everything together. And I thought that we were a very good team.
Balmoral Castle in the north of Scotland is a favourite retreat of the royal family. Now, Diana was invited as a guest.
It's like being sucked in. You know, there's people pushing and people pulling, all in the same direction.
But as Diana grew closer to the royal circle, she found that someone else was already there, Camilla Parker Bowles. Camilla went to the races. She was at the polo matches. Sometimes, Camilla was even a guest at Balmoral. This is where Charles courted Diana, and this is where Camilla took a look at her. The 24th of February 1981 was a day of great celebration. Charles and Diana were engaged.
The band of the Coldstream Guards played, and the spectators glued themselves to the railings outside Buckingham Palace, all for a glimpse of any engagement day activity.
I saw Diana last night. She looked absolutely radiant, and very happy. I've never seen her look better.
Just delighted and happy.
And I suppose in love.
Of course.
Whatever in love means.
Yes. Well, it obviously
put your own
means,
interpretation.
obviously means two very happy people.
Yes.
Once again, congratulations. Well, from us, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very kind.
And the most extraordinary thing is we had this ghastly interview the day we announced our engagement, and this ridiculous ITN man said, "Are you in love?" So I thought, what a thick question. So I said, yes, of course we are, in the sort of fat, stern ranger that I was. And Charles turned around and said, what ever in love means. And that threw me completely. I thought, what a strange question.
What a strange
answer.
reply.
God, it traumatised me.
Well, the commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Parker Bowles, is just starting his inspection. Andrew Parker Bowles, of course, is an old friend of Prince Charles. They used to play polo together. He and his wife, Camilla, often entertained Prince Charles at their home in Gloucestershire. It has been rumoured that Prince Charles proposed to Lady Diana there.
At 7 in the morning, makeup artist Barbara Daly arrives at Clarence House, where Diana is getting ready for the wedding.
I liked her immediately. She was looking at television. It's kind of a very strange thing, because you could see the crowds on the small television that was just under the window. And there were all the crowds that we could see on the television, right outside the window. And she said, this is a lot of fuss for one girl getting married.
We met 13 times before we got married.
Beautiful girl, the handsome prince, the sunshine, the crowds. A fairy tale. It was magical.
Charles Philip Arthur George, wilt thou have this woman to thy wedded wife? Wilt thou love her, comfort her, honor and keep her in sickness and in health? And forsaking all other, keep thee only unto her?
I will.
Diana, wilt thou have this man to thy wedded husband?
I will.
Diana is no longer on the outside looking in. Now, she's on the inside looking out.
In a space of a year, my whole life had changed, turned upside down. It was isolating. You had to either sink or swim, and you had to learn that very fast. But if I tripped up, which invariably I did, because I was new at the game, a ton of bricks came down on me.
And I used to get in the car with Charles, and I used to blab in the car. There'd be crowds everywhere. And he said, no, what's the matter? I said, I can't get out of this car. He said, why? I said, I got this phobia, I can't get out of this car. I don't feel safe in there. And I was neurotic almost. But then when I got out of the car,
Buckingham Palace have just announced that the Princess of Wales is expecting a baby. The princess is said to be in excellent health.
This has been quite a difficult pregnancy. I hadn't been very well throughout it. So by the time William arrived, it was great relief because it was all peaceful again, and I was well for a time.
But Diana was confiding to close friends that she suspected her husband was being unfaithful.
You have to understand how hard that was to hear. We're talking 1982-3. When she realized that Charles was seeing Camilla, and I just remember being quite horrified about what she was telling me, and at the same time, rather shocked. She was worried about what it was that was going on. I know that she did ask Camilla to leave her husband alone. I thought that was quite brave of her, actually, because I know how much that must have taken for her to do that. And what do you do about it? What can you do about it? All you can do is to try to make the marriage work and hope in time that things change. But that's not really what happened.
I don't think the concerns about Camilla ever stopped. She was aware things had been going on. The staff all knew. Everybody knew. Everybody knew where he was going. So she didn't know who to trust.
I noticed that she had lost a little bit of weight. And that's when she told me that she was bulimic. It was pure pressure stress.
You could see her fading physically. It was clear to all those who knew her that the bulimia was a reaction to the circumstances she found herself in.
Everybody knew about the bulimia in the family, and they all blamed the failure of the marriage on the bulimia. And that's taken some time to get them to think differently. I said I was rejected, I didn't think I was good enough for this family, so I took it out on myself. I said I could have gone to alcohol, which would have been obvious. I could have been anorexic, which would have been even more obvious. I decided to do a more discreet thing, which ultimately wasn't discreet, but I chose to hurt myself instead of hurting all of you.
I felt compelled to perform. Well, when I say perform, I was compelled to go out and do my engagements and not let people down. We'd be going around Australia, for instance. All you could hear was, oh, she's on the other side. Now, if you're a man, or my husband, proud man, you mind about that. You hear it every day for 4 weeks.
You look as if you've got tears in your eyes. Why?
I've been waiting for so long to see her. She's beautiful.
With the media attention came a lot of jealousy.
I've come to the conclusion that really it would have been far easier to have had 2 wives. To have covered both sides of the street. And I could have walked down the middle, directing the operation.
We were a very good team in public, albeit what was going on in private. Rampant bulimia, and just a feeling of being no good at anything and being useless and hopeless and failed in every direction. A husband who loved someone else, yes. I knew it. You just know.
The videos recorded by Diana's speech coach capture the princess at her most candid and vulnerable.
Listen. You're dreaming. This is having a bad day.
During one of the sessions, Diana revealed her true feelings for a handsome police officer she'd begun an illicit relationship with at the palace.
When I was 24, 25, I fell deeply in love with somebody who worked in this environment. And it was all found out, and he was chucked out, and then he was killed. And that was the biggest blow in my life, I must say, which I don't find easy to discuss.
His name was Barry Manicky. Diana was the mother of 2 young princes. Barry was also married with 2 children.
I mean, I was quite happy to give all this up, well, not have all this. At the time, it was quite something to have all this, just to go off and live wherever. I couldn't believe it.
Well, one can.
And he kept saying he thought it was a good idea too. So.
Oh, God, right. But you needed some adventure.
I just needed to tell someone to tell me that I was all right. And he kicked me out in the sense of mentally kick me outside and make me go and do my engagements, because I used to sort of scream in this room. And Charles thought he knew, but I never had any proof. I should never have played with fire, and I did, and I got very burned.
Well, when you say play with fire, you're saying that they haven't been sexual.
No.
So you had an intimacy,
yeah,
which you weren't getting.
Yeah.
And the thing, yes. How old was he?
40.
Did you flirt with your dad?
Yeah, I suppose you could say I did, yes. I'm sure I did. I was like a little girl in front of him the whole time. Desperate for praise. Desperate. And it all got so difficult. People got so jealous and bitchy in this house. And eventually he had to go. And 3 weeks after he left, he was killed in a motorbike accident. And he was the greatest friend I've ever had. And that was a real killer.
In 1986, Ken Worf joined the royal household. A year later, he succeeded Barry Manicky as Princess Diana's royal protection officer.
Diana said, "What do you want to drink?" It was almost like being at a wine bar in Kensington with a friend. Immediately she said, "Do you know about Camilla Parker Bowles?" Well, I couldn't deny that I knew about it because I'd been informed about it. And I said, "Yes, of course." And there was a hesitation there. And she said, "Well, she features most days, most hours and minutes of my life." I didn't really understand at that point exactly what she meant. But of course, the days that followed, the weeks that followed, the months that followed, I knew exactly what she meant by that. She sort of carried out her own research and found that previous Prince of Waleses had their own mistresses.
I remember saying to my husband, why this lady around? And he said, well, I refused to be the Prince of Wales and never had a mistress.
But this was the 20th century, moving into the 21st century, and she wasn't prepared to accept that. And she much preferred that Camilla Parker Bowles would just disappear. There was a genuine unhappiness here.
My father-in-law said to my husband, if your marriage doesn't work out, you can always get back to her after 5 years, which is exactly it. I mean, for real, I knew that had happened after 5 years. I knew something was happening before that, but the 5th year, I had confirmation. So I went to the top lady, and I was sobbing, and I said, what do I do? I'm coming to you, what do I do? And she said, I don't know what you should do. Charles is hopeless. And that was it. That was help.
People were saying that she's mad. 20 years on, they're still telling her that she's mad. But the fact of it is that here was a case, a woman trying to come to terms with the fact that her husband was in a relationship and having an affair with another woman. It is as simple as that. It is that simple.
There's virtually no sex relation with you and with Charles?
Sort of once every 3 weeks. And then it fizzled out about 7 years ago, 6 years ago.
As the fairy tale marriage was falling apart, another was about to begin. It had all the necessary ingredients. A young Prince Andrew, the radiant bride, Sarah Ferguson, a stunning dress, a grand celebration.
This wonderful day here in London, all the marvellous pageantry and ceremonial.
Once again, the royal show was well and truly on the road, but very few of those present understood what was happening before their eyes.
I'm joined now by Captain James Hewitt. He's the right-hand man to the Brigadier who's organised this entire procession. And I think your very presence here this very morning means that you're confident, you're relaxed, that everything is going to plan behind the scenes. Is that right?
Well, I hope so. Last time I left the scene, everything was running quite smoothly.
The same crowds, the same waves from the balcony, the same kiss. No one knew then what we know now. Charles was secretly seeing Camilla. Diana was involved with James Hewitt, the captain of the guard. For the Royal House of Windsor, the royal family, this was not the way the fairy tale was supposed to play out. For 5 years, Diana's personal bodyguard, Ken Wolfe, travelled everywhere with her. On one occasion, he was shocked to see Diana confront her love rival, Camilla Parker Bowles.
And I don't know where Diana just managed to conjure up this confidence, but literally walked across and just calmly said to Camilla, the Prince of Wales was completely shocked by this, although thinking about it, must have expected that she would have noticed they weren't in this room. And she said, look, I know what's going on. You know, I understand that. So don't, sort of treat me like an idiot. And Camilla said something really unusual and said, well, it's all right for you, Diana. You've got 2 wonderful boys. Now, you can make of that what you like. I've never understood it. But suddenly, this was an awakening, because Diana knew at this point there was no hope or any chance of a reconciliation. So this had taken nearly 8-9 years to reach this point, but in her eyes had proved that this meeting, this liaison, was never going to break up and was never going to bring about a satisfactory relationship in her eyes. This was the beginning of the end.
So I had to cut my own collar.
And so Diana cut her own path. Gone now was the shy Sloane Ranger. This was a new Diana, the people's princess in the making. Independent, modern, even flirtatious. But not everyone was pleased.
There was a great deal of jealousy from the grey men who sat behind Prince Charles, not wanting him to be living in her shadow. Her character was being written down, as she saw it, as a campaign to sideline her and remove her from the boys. That was her worry, was that she was going to lose the boys. Overriding above everything else, that was the concern, and that they were using a character rundown as a means of enabling that to happen, or even making it the absolutely logical and understandable next step?
1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
2 weeks after the Queen's speech, it was officially announced that Diana and Prince Charles had decided to separate. Behind Charles, all the ancient power of the royal court. But for Diana, power lay in the court of public opinion. And to strengthen her advantage, she was taking lessons with a speech coach.
So,
If you come in here, you sit down and be quiet.
you've got to be very quiet.
Very quiet. Don't touch it, William, because it's all focused on me.
Okay, let's pretend, right? Okay, so Your Royal Highness, you're currently concentrating very much on your charity work. Would you like to tell us why you feel it's so important to you?
I got nothing else to do. Sorry.
No, this records a lot. Go back to the top now, because this is what we're doing.
Number one, she had been abandoned by her family, having become a huge embarrassment and disgrace. Each person is born with individual qualities and potential.
Slightly faster now. Let's move on, yes. Only slightly. Get a little angry now with that.
I can't be angry and speak like
Yes,
that.
you can.
I can't get my words out. I'm so tired.
When am I going to see you when you're not tired?
In the mornings, ladies and gentlemen.
More energy. Stop. There's a lovely chunk in there. You were pushing the thing out, and it started to come from you. That's what connects you, and see who we're after. So I'm not manufacturing you. I'm just bringing out that bit of you that wants a voice, which is the 30-year-old woman, 31-year-old woman who has something important to say. You've got a voice that people want to hear. You're telling the story. You're a storyteller. And the quality you have, which they haven't got, is that you talk to them from the guts. You know, person of the people. They're scared of that. So let's not lose it. Let's keep it on.
Even though Charles and Diana were living separate lives, the controversy over the third woman in their marriage, Camilla Parker Bowles, had only intensified. Charles went on the offensive, agreeing to be interviewed for a documentary.
The most damaging charge that is made in relation to your marriage is that you were, because of your relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, from the beginning, persistently unfaithful to your wife and thus caused the breakdown. What is your response to that persistent criticism?
That's the persistent criticism, is it? Mrs. Parker Bowles is a great friend of mine. I have a large number of friends. I'm terribly lucky to have so many friends. She has been a friend for a very long time and will continue to be a friend for a very long time. That's what friends are for.
Were you faithful and honourable to your wife when you took on the vow of marriage?
Yes, absolutely.
And you were?
Yes. Until it became irretrievably broken down. Us both having tried.
To Diana, Charles's interview was hurtful and damaging. She believed if only people could hear her real story, she would also have their support.
You're hugging the lamb. I'm hugging it.
Do you really believe that a campaign was being waged against you?
Yes, I did, absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
I was a separated wife to the Prince of Wales. I was a problem, full stop. Never happened before. What do we do with her?
Can't we pack her off to somewhere quietly rather than campaign against her?
She won't go quietly. That's the problem. I'll fight till the end because I believe that I have a role to fulfill. And I got 2 children to bring up.
Listen to yourself.
It was not only what Diana said in the interview that surprised people, but the way that she said it. That was the real revelation.
Do you think you'll ever be queen?
No, I don't. No.
Why do you think that?
I'd like to be a queen of people's hearts, in people's hearts. But I don't see myself being queen of this country.
Do you think the Prince of Wales will ever be king?
I don't think any of us know the answer to that. And obviously it's a question that's in everybody's head. But who knows? Who knows what fate will produce? Who knows what circumstances will provoke?
Summer 1997. The prince and his princess have divorced. Diana will no longer be the future Queen of England. On the 3rd of June, she arrived at the Albert Hall for the English National Ballet's performance of Swan Lake. She would always tell people who asked her that if she hadn't been a princess, she would have liked to have been a dancer. Now she'd come to the ballet for the last time.
Princess Diana, at the age of 36, has died of massive internal injuries.
The crash came through on the news in Paris. And strangely enough, I expected her to call. Of course, when she had a crisis, that's when she'd sometimes call. Of course, she wasn't going to call. It was an odd feeling. The sense of the fate.
Diana sadly dies in a tragic road accident in Paris. And then what happens? The Prince of Wales did marry Camilla Parker Bowles.
This was no fairy tale ending. For people everywhere, just overwhelming sadness and emptiness. Diana's was a story that no one wanted to end.
I knew that something profound was coming my way, and I was just treading water, waiting for it. I didn't know what it was, I didn't know where it was, I didn't know if it was coming next year or next month, but I knew I was different from my friends and where I was going.
And there's more about the Diana tapes on our website and Facebook page. Stay with 7 now, and thank you for making us part of your Sunday night.